Okay, music set, and we're live. Hi again, I'm back. And I'm gonna try to finish this little clown girl. If you haven't seen that, I think I have it up. The other day we did a stream where I went through some old pages of my digital sketchbook and I found this doodle because I wanted to do something but I didn't have the inspiration. So I found this doodle, which is, let's see if we can find the original. There. And yes, she's a bit blurry. That was it. It was very tiny, so it's a bit large up. That's why it's sort of blurry. And I really liked her, so I thought about giving her a new life with my current style because the doodle was slightly old. Slightly old, I think. I'm not sure exactly when right now, but yeah. So we drew her face, new face, much rounder, bigger eyes. I adjusted her features a little bit. I thought her chin was a bit too pointy with very little space. I still do leave little space generally, but not as little. So I think this one is a bit more realistic. Still, her face is like triangular, but much more round. And we did her hair, that was very much the same because I really liked how I did it. And now we're moving on. So I'm a bit scared with this color because I've drawn them before and they're a bit of a mess. Like they're sort of fun to see, but they're a bit of a mess to be drawn. So I'm scared. Not really, but you know. By the way, let me adjust the eraser first. So, no, this is not my eraser. I changed the eraser. I think this is mine. I changed the eraser to record a Twitch, not a Twitch, sorry, a TikTok video. You know, one of those where you erase a blank canvas and show up your finished piece. So I had to adjust it again. And okay, so we have my tools back to where they belong. And now I'm not sure if I should look for a reference for these sort of colors because they are always a bit of a mess to draw, as I said. But for now, why don't we start with the crown so I don't keep you waiting till I decide what to do. I kept the hair and the face on different layers just because I might, you know, play with the colors of line art and all of it. I really like the shape of this crown for some reason, so I'm gonna keep it like it is. I have some fan art upcoming that I like to draw. I think the next one is gonna be Bridgerton related. I recently rewatched the past season, well, the first season, just to, well, honestly, just because I felt like it, but then again, I've been reading so much that the next season is coming and all of that, that I sort of felt like I wanted to watch it again. I really enjoyed period movies and books. So I think, in fact, that I'm gonna read the books very soon because I'm really, really curious. But I'm curious to see the next season as well. I think I'm gonna miss Daphne and the Duke as a couple, but I think we're gonna have a lot of interesting things coming in this new season. So one of the ideas I have for fan art, which is not exactly what I'm used to doing, is draw their house. I love their house. Like when they start out the series, and the first thing I think is the first plane you see of the house with the violet flowers. I'm not exactly sure if they're flower, but I really like that plane. I really like how the house looks. I like the architecture, the English architecture a lot. And I've drawn houses before, not too many. It's not I'm exactly good at it because it's just not something I do a lot. But I don't know. I really felt as I saw that picture, I had this feeling that I had to draw that. So I think I might be doing a watercolor piece on that. Ink and watercolor, as I usually do. And I don't know, I'm excited about that. On the other hand, I would also like to do. I've been itching to do those sort of frame studies a lot of people do with their style. I've done frame studies before when you grab a frame from a picture, from a movie, and I'm fighting with my concentration has greatly decreased ever since I saw that I didn't really like that corner. Okay, so I've done movie studies before, where you grab a frame from a movie and you basically try to copy it to recreate the lining and all of that. It is a great study. I really enjoyed it in the past. But I really like how some people have been doing it lately, where they just do it in their own style. There's an artist, MS. I can't be sure. Like, I know her and I will know her style if I see it. But she does that a lot, in fact, lately. And I've been loving it. I've honestly been loving it. And I've seen other artists as well do it with wash painting sometimes, which I think it's marvelous. And I've been sort of itching to do that myself, and I was thinking that it might be cool to do it with Bridgerton because I've seen a few frames that could be fun. But the fact is that I went the other day on IMBW, I think it is called. I'm sorry, I'm used to say the letters in Spanish, so when I try to say it in English, it's harder. It's IMDb, the movie database, basically. There you can find, by the way, if you didn't know this, you can find a lot of screenshots from movies, and it's just such a great place to find good references because a lot of times they do. And you can find a lot of things on even old movies and such. So obviously there's not as many in some as there is in others, but it's still a good place to find references, and I really like it. I went over there and I didn't find a movie screenshot that I liked. Then again, there's a lot more sometimes when you search on Pinterest and such. So I think I'm gonna do a little dive on Pinterest and I don't know, maybe Google as well, or maybe I was thinking about this because of the house, because I didn't find as many good references looking for them. I'm gonna just quickly rewatch the season, not rewatch it, but just like go on Netflix and check on a few scenes and just take screenshots from the pictures that I like. Like, for example, I'm going to do that with the house. And maybe if I find something, like I'm going to go through a few scenes and see if I find something that interests me to draw. On another hand, I could also just draw them. But I don't know, I think that it might be fun to do that. water break. And now I think I'm gonna search for a reference for that color. I don't even know how to search for it. Let me open. I have Pinterest open, by the way, because I needed, well, I wanted a reference for the color palette maybe later. I still haven't decided, but I said it in the other stream that I would like something sort of vintagey poster vibes. Like if you are imagining a vintage poster, you know, the sepia like they are yellowish. I don't know how to explain it. The colors are sometimes saturated, but not as saturated. So there's something about those color palettes, and I really don't know how to search for it exactly to find one that I like the color palette in. But I'm gonna search. But I have a search open for vintage posters and see if I can find something there. Now let me search for colors and see what I can find. I really don't know how to search for this as well. Ruffled color, maybe? Thank you, Pinterest, for showing me things that will be similar to what I'm searching for. Ruffled. By the way, I don't show my searches and over Pinterest. Not because anything in particular, I'm just thinking that maybe, I don't know if it's copyrighted in some way in here in Twitch. I don't know if I should be showing that, that's why I don't show it. Also, a lot of times it's just plain boring because it's just having it there. So I'm gonna search into that and see if that's a problem or not. I think I'm just gonna search clown color and see if something appears. Clown. Okay, yes, it appeared now, like what I was thinking about exactly. Pinterest is just such a gem when you're doing these things. Still, colors are very weird to draw. You basically, even if you have a reference, you sort of need to make them up. Okay, I have a few things open. The circus aesthetics is always fun, right? Old circus aesthetics, I mean. Okay. I'm just gonna start drawing. I've done these colors a few times before. I'm looking for references, but just because I felt that it will help. On another hand, I'm thinking if should I leave it as it is, like the shape as it is over here, or should I make it go a bit over here, the color I mean. I'm debating whether I should or not. Let me just erase the layer. What I'm thinking is I'm gonna do the middle point and then just try to fix it over here. If I like it, I'll keep it. If not, I'll just erase it. Okay, we'll need to start somewhere, so let's just start over here. Most of the ruffle colors you see, the real ones, are made from tulle and those sort of fabrics that are very soft, and they don't do these actual curls that I'm drawing. Because that fabric doesn't, like, it's not hard enough, it's too soft to do this sort of twirls unless you do them and sew it like that. I know because I know how to sew and I've studied fashion design, so I know more about fabrics than you will think. Not that I'm really passionate about it or anything, but I know these things, just as a fun fact. But for some reason, when drawing these, I find that it's much more fun to do it with these shapes. Like, on the reference pictures that I found, they're much more interesting when they're tulle. Like, let me show you a couple so you can know what I'm talking about. So, what I mean about fun colors is something like this. This is sort of fun and it's tulle and it has some sort of shape to give it volume. The other one I have open, no, it's not around here. You can see all of these is tulle as well. And the other one will be, okay, these two are the same. This one. This is very interesting as well. And as you can see, it does some of the shapes, but they're not as exact because the fabric is not just hard enough, you know? They do the shapes because they've been sewn that way and it's on purpose. The fabric itself won't do that if it's not sewn that way. And these are very fun, and in fact I think this one would look sort of cool, but it's just harder to draw and a bit more annoying. So I'm just drawing this basic that you can imagine any clown wearing, sort of. Yeah, it's Elizabethan, I will say, this sort of color. Okay, and now we can get back to drawing. I'm not drawing this part, I'm just sort of gonna make it dark later. As if it is there, but it's just not being seen. Okay, over here I'm not even gonna imagine it. I'm just gonna draw some lines, pretend it's there. I'm not even sure if this is too accurate, but I'm making the shapes a bit larger over here and then contracting them a bit when it comes to the edges. I'm drawing them as in this sort of tear shape, but you need to remember that what the fabric does in this situation is it's basically going up and down, up and down. So if it contracts, it's basically, well, that last bit was a mess. So if it suddenly gets a bit squished, I suddenly forget what I'm doing, by the way. It will start like being much thinner everywhere. I feel like I do 2 lines and then I start thinking too much about it and don't remember what I'm doing anymore. But you get my point. My brain doesn't work so much. It just starts being automatic at a certain point and you just don't remember how to do it. I don't know if it happened to you, but these things happen to me with braids as well. A lot of times I'm making them and it's just logic and it's like muscle memory. But then I try to explain it and suddenly I forgot the shape of a braid and what the hair does. And I've been making braids my whole life. And I'm really pretty good at drawing them too, but suddenly you start to think too much about them and you forget how they go. I've decided to draw this in a bigger sort of shape, like the brush is just much bigger because it's faster and because a lot of times I draw clothes this way. I feel that when I draw with a bigger brush, I add less details, and a lot of times I don't want the focus to be on the clothes. So that's my point with it. It's just not having that many details on the clothes. Also because, I mean, obviously it depends on the costume and what the person is wearing, but a lot of times you don't want that many details in your clothes because they start looking unrealistic. It's just like when you draw too many folds in a cloth, whatever it is, if it's a shirt or whatever. A few are good. In fact, they sort of need it. I mean, it depends on the fabric, obviously, but even leather creates creases and such. But if you don't add any, then it's just not realistic, you know? Okay, so now that it's more or less done, what I was thinking was to do sort of this shape around here. As if it was going around, because it is. Then again, I don't think it's necessary. I think the volume of the hair could easily just cover it up. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is add a soft shade in this part. As I've done in other parts of her face before. I'm gonna erase this one that goes over the hair because the hair is on top. And I'm also gonna do the same over here. And I'm gonna lower the opacity now a little bit. Now before I combine that, I think I'm gonna do this like some soft shadows in the color as well. I could add this later. I'm not sure why exactly am I doing this like this. I'm just going with my gut, really. You've probably realized that I've changed the side where the shade is. That was on purpose. It was sort of a test. I wanted to see where it looked better because I started doing immediately on this side. And I decided I like it better on this one. Oops, too dark. I need to do it only in just one stroke so it's softer. So I can't lift the pencil if I want the same color all the time. Why in the same direction? Well, this wouldn't be exactly a shade, but the fabric that you're seeing. And I will guess that if you're folding a fabric like this, then you will always see the same fabric passing through, you know, in the same direction. Honestly, you probably would see it all painted, but this just gives it an extra bit of realism. When in fact, it's usually more. I've just looked at a reference because I was like, there was something odd about what I was shading. Whoops, I almost closed it. And from what I can see in these colors is that they usually have, okay, they behave a bit funny when it comes to the shade. I guess depends where the light will come from. And a lot of times what happens is that it is just completely, oops, not there, in the other layer. One of them is usually completely shaded, either the top or the bottom. Because if the lining is hitting the one up, it's usually making the bottom one be in shadow. Oh, hi. Well, I've been drawing for a few years now. I always get messed up with the exact time frame, but I will say I've been drawing for about 6, 7 years seriously. Not all on the same style, not all on the same consistency level. But it really depends. A lot of people get there faster, some people get theirs much lower. It also depends on the time you spend on it. I'm very stubborn. So when I set my head to do something, I usually dedicate a lot of time to it. But it does depend on how you practice. I know that there's people that in a year or two could reach a really, really good level. And I wouldn't even say that I'm in a good level too, because I lack in a lot of things and I'm very lazy to study certain things. So then I don't believe in talent, but some people do learn things faster than others. I will say that that's more than okay, but also you need to learn in a good way, you know, because a lot of times you might be dedicating 2 hours a day but not doing the right things. And I'm probably not the best to tell you exactly what to do, but you know, sometimes if you want to improve and learn, just drawing because of your you want to draw and just scribbling away or something doesn't really help you improve as much as when you're trying to learn things. However, I mean, having a few days a week where you just draw for yourself and you just doodle away is completely fine, and it will probably avoid you getting burned out. Also, I will say that if you're doing 2 hours a day, maybe try to focus on certain things. So, I don't know what you're interested in, but if you're, for example, interested in drawing characters, then maybe try a few days of the week doing figure drawings, figure studies, studying a bit of anatomy. I'm not saying learn every muscle and bone. It certainly helps, but for example, I haven't and I still know a bit of anatomy. Eventually, I would like to study it a bit more seriously, but just to start out. And for example, things like that, like you will need to learn how the body works, how the face, the expressions work, and you shouldn't start with all of it at the same time, but start slowly with one thing, maybe move on to the next one. You do you, but things like that will definitely help you reach the next level much faster. I know figure studies did help me a lot back when I did them because they gave me a lot of movement. And yeah, I understand where you're coming from, because as I said, I'm a bit lazy when it comes to learning proactively, like really sit down and learning. A lot of times courses help. So if you think that you will learn more with a course, that will definitely be another option than learning by yourself. But I can tell you that when I did gesture and live drawing, we had some live drawing classes when I was back in the university. And they helped. They did help a lot. And by the time I was over with all of these gesture drawings, I even started doing them on my own for sort of fun, because I ended up like liking them in a way. And also because I realized that when I tried to draw a body in weird positions or something, I knew how to place it. I don't know how to explain it, but eventually you sort of learn it without even learning properly, just because you've drawn so many poses and bodies and stuff. But I'll say, I think I've already said this, but yeah, if you're trying to draw gesture and studying anatomy and all of this stuff, try. And even if you do 2 hours a day, try to have fun too. Like maybe learn for something for an hour and then draw for fun for another hour, just so you don't get burned out. Because whenever I focused only on studying, I will get heavily burned out, and I didn't even feel like drawing anymore. So doing you for a bit helps. Water break. Yeah, drawing is a very long journey and you never stop learning, and also you'll never stop criticizing your own work. There will be phases also where you feel like you always draw well, and others when you don't draw anything like you want it. But it's also really rewarding too. Just like any other hobby, you know. Learning to play the guitar or the piano takes a long time, and you need to get your fingers calloused for the guitar to for you not to hurt when you play the guitar, and for being able to do certain chords and things. So this is just the same. You need to build up that muscle memory for being able to get there. Okay, I'm gonna compare now with the one I have before. I don't know, this just is fun. And I put all the line art in this group. And this is what we had before. This sketch is a bit old, so yeah. I like it, but definitely not exactly my style anymore. And I don't know why I have this little V thing over here that I like. I don't know if I should add it or not. Yes, definitely. Is just what I said, that if you are just studying for a long period of time every day for a few hours, you will get very tired. It's just like draining. Also, you can switch it up. Even if you can do gesture, but you can do also, I don't know, more specific studies maybe, or I can't come up with the name exactly of how that was called. Maybe expressions, maybe study hands, maybe feet, things like that. Like change it up a bit, spice it up, you know? I can't come up with the name exactly, but there was a sort of exercise for drawing people. Like there's the gesture, obviously, that's like 5 minutes. But again, you can switch up that into a, like when you basically draw for like a few seconds. I remember that you could do like the gestures in different time frames. Like maybe just do it 30 seconds, then do it a minute, then do it 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and things like that. And if you switch that up in that way, maybe that will help you not being so bored in doing always the same. Maybe take a live drawing session if you can. I know that there's places where you can attend some. I don't know where you live. Like here in Spain, I don't even have an idea about where I could go to a live class, a live drawing class. But a lot of times, drawing from a real person helps a lot too. Like having a model there pose for you, that could really, really help. And it spices things up a bit. Maybe changing mediums too, like if you're always drawing in pencil for the studies, switch up to digital or switch up to pen. Sometimes pen can be interesting in figure drawings as well. Things like that. There's always ways to spice it up a bit. Sometimes we don't think it when we're doing it, but there are there. Okay, we'll skip that V thing shape over there. I'm sort of scared to paint her now. Maybe it's because I like her in the sketch form. Oh, no problem. Don't worry. English is not my native language either. I'm Spanish. Well, I'm not Spanish. I'm Portuguese. I do live in Spain. So English is actually my third language. And I know I speak too fast. I always do. Just a thing of Spanish people, I guess. Oh. Yeah, this is the sketch, but it was like from a long time ago. I found it in I keep a digital sketchbook, sort of with pages. And I found this tiny sketch in a page over there, like just in a corner hiding. I did it with the symmetry tool. I don't know if you can see the line over here. There's a symmetry tool over here, and you can draw and it stays symmetrical. And I was just doodling away. I really like the texture over here. And this will be a bit of a more updated version with my style. Yes, you can draw on both sides. Let me show you. You can put the symmetry however you want it. You can even put like one with several lines, so you draw mandalas and stuff like that. But in this one is basically the vertical symmetry. So if you draw something like this, it copies, but then you can move to the other side. And it just continues. It can get a bit crazy. So you can sort of go back here and fix it on this side, or just deactivate it and activate it again. But it's a fun tool. Like for when they introduce it, I really like to play with it, and sometimes I still do. In a way, yes. Sometimes I don't think it's good to draw in symmetrical form though, faces and stuff. For sketches maybe, but then later for cleaning up, I don't think so, because a face is never symmetrical, and if you draw with this, then it can turn out to be unrealistic. So as it might save time, I find it more for playing than for actually finishing a drawing with it. Okay, so I'm looking for a reference for the color palette. Okay, I found something that I think might be interesting. I'm gonna show you guys a bit of a trick that I have for color palettes. So I downloaded this photo from Pinterest, and no, I'm not gonna use it as it is. So it's not, there shouldn't be any problem with copyright or anything. And what I do, I think I saw an artist do this, so it's not something I've come up with, but is just go to the filters on Photoshop. And with this texture sort of thing, I move it to a point where I can find enough of the colors that I liked. Basically what this does, it simplifies a lot the drawing. So obviously if you put it very small, you can see the drawing. But if you put it bigger, it starts to simplify the color, and it's just much easier to see the color palette. So you can go very extreme back here and just have like, I don't know, what could it be here? Like 5 colors really, because this is basically the same, these two. But I do want that blue. I like that blue. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but I like it. So I think I'm going to keep it into a point where I can find those two here. And then I use this as a color palette thing. So obviously I won't use every single thing that it is on this palette, but I will pick and choose from something. And as you already found a picture where the color palette worked, your piece will always have a nice color palette because it's already on a good reference where the color palette works. Now, a lot of people don't like if you do this with their artwork. So maybe it's just better if you do it just from photos. I don't know. I honestly found it a bit of a weird thing to do because even us as artists get inspired from other artworks and other... Yeah, it's not without shadow. I just turned off the sketch that I had before that was giving it a base because I was drawing over it. Sorry, I didn't see the comment. So I turned it off because I'm not going to use it anymore. That was the old sketch. And I'm going to start coloring it now. I think I was saying that a lot of artists don't like if you're using their color palettes from a piece because they feel like they have put thought into it and that you're sort of stealing it from them. I wouldn't mind if you do that with mine. I don't always do this, by the way, and a lot of times, even if I do this, I end up changing the colors a bit over here. So I don't really feel like this will be anyone's propriety. I don't know how to explain it, but you know, colors and color compositions are always very similar. Like for example, here you're using blues and oranges and sort of muted tones around orange. So this basically is not a color palette you've created, or I think it was a photo of a painting, or a painting, not sure. The author didn't create this color palette. Blue and orange are used together all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. To each its own, really. But I mean, you can choose your own colors anytime. I usually do this. I was just, for example, I've done plenty of color compositions by myself, but for example, if you want a certain vibe, like for example, now I was looking for a vintage vibe, so I searched for a vintage sort of reference to get this. Then if you're looking for maybe a sad vibe, you can do this. This obviously is not something you should always do, I wouldn't say. Let me turn down the music a bit because it's getting me crazy. I don't even know if you can hear it, but I can't talk with music in the background. Yeah, so I basically use this when I want a specific color palette or something, or I'm feeling exactly like, as I saw this, I thought vintage poster from maybe a circus, something old, you know? And that's why I took this reference. But I know I can I can paint my own with my own colors. I've done my own color compositions 1,000 times. So I know that also I'm adding my own touch to it because a lot of times I'm probably going to be changing up something. Like, for example, if I pick this color, I try it on the hair, which was what I was going to do, and I don't like it, then I'll go darker or lighter, you know, and it's not exactly the same color. So this is sort of a tool to help you, but never, like, you never should rely on any of this fully, obviously, but there's always tips and tricks. And professional artists use things like this too, so it's not in any way cheating. I was thinking I want to keep some of the green that I initially used for the sketch. I think it was mainly the green that gave me the vibes of the vintage poster, but I don't know if I should go for a dark green. Yeah, I think so. I like this green. It's very similar to the one I have. I think that this will be very similar to artists telling you that you shouldn't use the Control Z when you're drawing digitally. It's just up to you. It's not a cheat form because then the eraser will be the same, you know? It's just the same that a lot of drawing teachers will tell you not to use the eraser. You know, things like that are a bit of an advice that sometimes helps, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, there is. And basically, I think it's just up to you. Like, for example, tracing. I've seen, you can't imagine how many courses, talks I've seen from professional artists, artists that have a lot of experience, that are incredibly skilled, that are in favor of tracing. Obviously, not tracing the piece of another artist and sell it. Like, that's out of the question, that's just wrong. But tracing for study purposes, or I don't know, I can't come up with anything else right now. But tracing for study purposes is completely fine. And a lot of professional artists will tell you that is it's okay. However, a lot of newbie artists will tell you that tracing is bad. And you know, it's just completely odd that things like that happen. And a lot of disagreement about these things, I think, comes more from people that are inexperienced than from real professional artists. At the end of the day, just like with the colors, you're using techniques and things that have been done and tested for years. Like the techniques for choosing color palettes, when you think about using the primary colors or using um, complementary colors, not primary colors, sorry. Things like that. These are techniques and they're just been used times and times again. So, would you tell someone not to use complementary colors just because it's way too basic? No, because it works. It's just basic color theory. And the same is about tracing. Like, you learn to draw certain things with tracing, and it's completely fine as well. As long as you don't end up, you know, stealing from an artist, which is why tracing become a bad thing in the first place. Not because there's anything bad about tracing, but because people were tracing and posting things as if they were their own. And there's a little spot there that I haven't colored. I have a Wacom Intuos, not Intuos, sorry, a Wacom Cintiq 16, the cheaper one. Well, there's one that's cheaper now, but I have the one that has the screen, but is a bit cheaper. I used to draw with an Intuos one. That's why I said it. I think my mind went back to there. For like 2 or 3 years, the first 2 or 3 years, until I saved up a bit more and switched up to a screen. It's all personal preference, but I do like drawing on a screen better. And the good thing about this one is that it's a Wacom Cintiq, so it's obviously on a bit of more of the expensive side compared with the non-screen tablets. But I think it's pretty affordable and it's good quality. You do have to save a bit, especially if you were like me back when I bought it. I was just a student. It was hard, but it is worth it. Also because, I mean, you can feel the difference in quality as well. I've tested a few other tablets, and I think the Wacom has a better feel to it. And I haven't even tried the bigger, better ones, the ones that cost over $1,000, because I can't even fathom that spends right now in my current monetary situation. But if this one feels good and it's like, I don't know how much it is now. Mine was over 500, I believe. Just imagine what it would be if it's over 100 or 200 and they're twice as big. And I also really like this size. It's not way too big, and I feel like it's just perfect. And I guess you can see that, but I'm currently using Photoshop. Yes, they are. But ever since, like, when I started, the only cheaper versions of Wacoms were the intros, the ones that didn't have a screen. And I am saying cheaper, but you know what I mean. The cheaper versions of Wacom still are a bit expensive. But I bought myself the intros, and I really liked the quality. And after like 4 or 5 years of use, it was still in perfect shape, and it still worked really, really well. So I thought that maybe it was worth the, the price. And yes, they might be slightly overpriced, but I don't know. I think that they might be worth it. And I think it was a really good idea that they did come up with these cheaper versions. Obviously to make competition, because XP Pen and Huion, I think it's called, were already in the market and were making Wacom's life a bit harder. So it was a really good thing that they came up with this Wacom Cintiq 16 and the Wacom One, and that I think is even cheaper than this one. I haven't tried that one because I already had this one. I obviously was not going to go for another one. But this one, even if it is on the cheaper side, I really like it, and it really feels nice. And I've already have it. I think I had it for the last maybe 3 years. I'm not sure. I think even longer maybe, and it's still in perfect condition. It works really, really well. The screen is really soft to the touch, so I'm really happy, honestly. And I'm even more happy after a long time ago, I have a YouTube channel, by the way, and XP Pen started sending me tablets for me to try. My YouTube channel is not that big, but I have a vlog also, so they contacted me and they sent me a few tablets to try out and review and all of that. And it was fun for me because I wanted to see how good these cheaper tablets were, because the prices are really, really different in comparison. Like a screen tablet, a big screen tablet comes from $200 up, when in Wacom they start, I think, in 300. But in that time, the first one was this one, the Wacom Cintiq, that was in 500. So the difference was pretty big. And I'm not saying they're bad, because they're not. The quality of the color is really nice as well, because one of the good things about the Wacom is actually that the color is very accurate. And I'm lucky, I have a really good screen and the colors are very accurate as well. Computer screen, I mean. But a lot of times, if you had a bad screen on the computer, you can notice that the colors on the Wacom are very different. Are much more accurate and vivid and, vibrant and all of that. And the colors on the XP Pen were really nice as well. The feel of it was nice as well. Yes, I think that's why they came with the Wacom one and such, because they were filling the competition. And even if they can just compromise on the materials, maybe if the tablets are made of a cheaper plastic, it's okay for us beginners. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Obviously, when they get competition, they always have to speed up their game. And I think that was good. Because they could obviously come up with a cheaper solution for newbie artists and such. Yeah, the iPad might help a lot. But honestly, I find that the iPad is a bit too expensive. Uh, People like it a lot, but if you think about it rationally, there's Wacoms at that price than the iPad is. Because then you also have to buy the pencil. Yes, I know it's not only for art, but a Wacom tablet is connected to your screen, to your computer, and all of that, and it will last you years. Like, I know that people have Wacoms for over 15 to 20 years. An iPad will last you in good condition maybe 4 or 5 years. I know I have an old iPad, and right now it's not even functional in the sense that it doesn't install the latest updates of Apple or anything. So if you think about it, it's a much better investment to invest on a tablet, being a Wacom or not. You can go for another brand's higher standard prices. But obviously then you have the mobility of the iPad and you have all the perks because it's an iPad. But then those perks will also make it, I don't know how to say it in English. I can't come up with the word. It's coming up in Spanish and not in English. Like, its lifespan, I couldn't think about it. Its lifespan is much shorter too, because it's an iPad. It has a lot of things. So it's not only a screen, it's an iPad. It's a mini computer, really. And then too, I'm not a big fan of Apple. I think that the iPads are great, and I would like to get one eventually if my monetary situation gets to the point where I could afford one. But right now it will only be, a thing that I want, but I don't really need, so I wouldn't spend on that. But I'm not a big fan of Apple because they do things that are not designed to last. They used to do things that were designed to last, because I've seen old laptops from Apple that still stand today and are super robust and super good. But right now, they are only interested in getting out the latest version and the latest version. And they have fans that buy them despite anything. Like, they will buy one iPhone a year. They don't mind. And because of that, I'm not a big fan of them or their... I guess it's just how brands work, I know, but this is just very wrong. Especially for us poor people. You will never see me with an iPhone. Like, I might get an iPad eventually for drawing, mainly for drawing, but I don't think I will ever buy an iPhone or a laptop, not even a Mac, because I've studied engineering, informatics engineering for a few years, and they are just worst. Like, people buy Macs just because they're fancy, not because they're good. The same price for an ordinary PC, and you'll get one that's twice better than what the Mac is. It's just it doesn't make sense in my mind, really, why people will spend so much in Macs. They're not as good. I mean, obviously they're good, but if you buy a Windows PC for the same price, it will be better. I can promise you that. Yeah, it's just I've studied that. It's just like Coca-Cola and all of these things. With the brand comes the price. Like just the price gives it an extra percentage of what the product should be. If the initial product value is $200, just the brand will add maybe an extra $200 to that. Okay. This is basically a white, right? Oops, I'm painting on the wrong layer. I, well, I used to travel a lot when I was on university. I kept going back and forth for to my mom's house, to my boyfriend's house, and I just was never in the same place. And what I used to do is I will take my small interest tablet with my laptop if I wanted to draw digitally, also because sometimes I had to draw digitally for whatever reason. Sometimes even for school projects and all. I just got used to do things in Photoshop sometimes. Um, that was one of my solutions, but the other one is just take a sketchbook, really. And I must say that I'm a very bad example at this because a lot of times I will even take my Wacom with me. A lot of times, for example, if I'm on vacation and I'm going for a couple of weeks, a lot of times I go to our house in Portugal, it's for my parents. So I know I will be in a home, so I can just set up my Wacom there with my laptop and I'll just be much more comfortable. Obviously, I wouldn't take it in other situations, maybe not in a plane, because I've seen more than one artist that has gotten their Wacom broken on a plane. And that must hurt a lot. I haven't tried it. It's a phone, right? Or is it the tablet? Well, I think there might be both, right? Yeah. I don't know. The few times I've tried sketching on a phone, I really didn't like it. Um, I used to have a little pencil thing. I used to have a little pencil thing for my iPad because my iPad is old. It doesn't have the pencil or anything, obviously. And I used to have Procreate on it. And I drew on that with those pencils that are, I don't know how to call it, with the little rubber thing. It was very uncomfortable for me. I don't like it. And especially on a phone, I think that the screen is way too small for my taste. Also, for example, I tried the XP pen. Oh, I can't remember the name. There's a little XP pen tablet, really tiny, that's non-screen, that can connect to your phone and sketch. And I tried that, and I didn't really like it, mainly because I felt that the size of the screen didn't translate properly to the tablet, and it was hard to draw because the proportions kept getting messed up, really. But then again, it was just the phone. I didn't really like drawing on the phone. I know a lot of people do it, so I guess it just depends. It could be another option, especially if you're on the go. I think that the easier option, if you don't have any other thing, will be just taking a sketchbook with you. I've bought these thinner sketchbooks sometimes that are really small. I don't like to go lower than an A5, but I mean, you can always get a thinner sketchbook ones that fit everywhere, literally. And I would say that and as that you always have sort of ready. That would be the best option, I would say. Unless you really, really need to work. If you need to work, then the best thing will be having an iPad or maybe a tablet that you can draw well on. I don't really know or haven't heard of many options that work well, except for the iPad. But I'll say that the best other option will be having a laptop and maybe a little tablet that's more portable, like the one I was talking about, XP Pen. I can't remember the name. Let me look at it. Or an Intuos. Just a simple Intuos will work too. It's funny because this time I was responding a few doubts on my YouTube channel about this exact tablet. Oh, the Deco Mini 7 is called. It's really, really cheap. It's like $30 or something like that. And I actually really like the how it works and the pressure sensitivity and all of that. It has a really nice feeling when you're drawing too. For the price, I think it's just really good. I went orange, but as I was going for more of a muted color palette, I'm thinking about grabbing something like this, maybe this one. Maybe I should have gone for a sepia sort of tone instead. Yeah, that will fit better. And I'm debating whether I should color it just... I mean, it's a hard one to get into, in the sense that you have to sort of know what you want and go for it. And for example, I've been an artist for quite some years and I still don't make a good amount of money. Yes, they obviously Fiverr is not the best place. I've times, but I just feel that you get so underpaid and is also the treatment with the client is very impersonal. So what I've been using actually is Craigslist, and I've gotten to talk with a few clients. I've gotten my first children's book illustration work from there. And yeah, I can't tell you that it's perfect because there's a lot of artists out there. But yeah. And if you want to work on a specific industry, like if you want to... What am I doing? If you want to go to animation and things like that, then there's, you know, other opportunities. It's just not exactly the same. I keep doing weird things here. I think Fiverr is just a place to go to, either if you're a bit desperate, or I don't know, maybe if you draw really, really quick, you can do certain things there. Yeah, that's another option. I mean, you could get into animation either in movies, animation studios, like there's so many job offers in those fields that require artwork, and they're so different, like character design, environment design, storyboard artists. Like there's a lot of things there, and the games just basically the same because they're basically as making a movie but with more art. So it depends what you're getting into. Like, for example, if you're more into comics, then you can even go self-published a lot. Like there's these platforms, I don't know many because I'm not that much into comics, but there's even platforms where you can publish your work, and I think you get some sort of revenue if you have enough views. Not sure exactly how that works, but there's the thing with artists. If you want to get into it, is that you're gonna have to be a freelancer, and you're gonna have to do a lot of things. You're gonna have to be you're gonna basically have to set up several streams of income. You can't rely on one only on one thing. You're probably gonna have to have maybe a store where you get a sale here and there. You're probably gonna have to have maybe a Patreon or a YouTube channel, or depend on I don't know, Twitch, for example. It depends, but a lot of artists, what they do is just build up these different income streams. Maybe they teach a course, and that course usually keeps paying them for some time. Maybe they write a book, and that book obviously has royalties. Then maybe they teach live sometimes. They do workshops. Maybe they go to conventions. And yes, that's basically what we do. We do a bit of a lot of things, so it ends up building up. And obviously we take commissions, we take big projects on if they come our way, or if we find them somewhere. Like as I said, I finished a children's book a few months ago, and that was a bigger project that I had going on. It was an independent one, but if it was with an editorial, I will have royalties every year coming my way too. They usually aren't enough to live, but if you build them up with different things, then they become enough. You basically have months that are better and others that are worse. You just need to be very clever with your money and how you use it. The hard part will be building those streams. Like for example, right now I have a lot of these things that I'm telling you about. I have a YouTube channel that doesn't give me anything because it's not big enough. Twitch obviously is not big enough yet. I've started it really recently. I have a shop, and it used to go well when I was on Etsy. Not enough so I could live on it, but as a good extra. But they closed it on Etsy. Now I have it on my website, and it's starting to pick up. I'm starting to get it better. I'm starting to get into conventions as well. And just basically build up everything, and some client work here and there, some commissions, personal ones, sometimes bigger projects. This is life. Obviously, if you want to just go into a studio, then you'll find a studio that fits you, send them portfolios here and there, and eventually you'll have a paid job with a normal paycheck and just a normal life. But if you want to go into any other sort of thing, then that's the life. It's definitely not for everyone. I can tell you that. And it's very hard, and sometimes discouraging. I get to certain points when I'm like, what am I doing? I can't make enough money, Yeah. It's really, really exhausting. And it's very tiresome too if you don't have the enough strength to keep up with everything, and very maybe confidence in yourself. I'm very stubborn. But I had friends telling me, like, if I was you, I would have already given up years ago. But I just can't. It's just not in my nature. And it's what I want, so I'll rather keep fighting. And obviously, you can do all of these things while you have a part time job. Maybe that will be more secure. I just had a bit of a bad luck when I finished university, and things were really bad here on Spain, and I couldn't find anything. So I basically just went straight into full-time freelancing, and I kept doing my things. At least this way I can make some extra money. It's not enough So I couldn't live on my own. We're basically relying mostly on my boyfriend's income, and sometimes if I have a bit extra, obviously I contribute as much as I can. But we're living very tightly because of this, and eventually could get really good, because the good thing about freelancing is that you can make a lot of money too, but it's just so exhausting. And it's also hard because, for example, for the longest time I didn't want to jump into Twitch because it didn't feel like something I will be good at. And I really didn't think I would be, I don't know, confident enough to be live streaming and talking and all of that. But eventually I had YouTube, and I guess it just got easier with time. Thank you so much. I'm always thinking that if you work hard, eventually you'll get somewhere. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm gonna finish the stream soon. I don't know if you follow me around on social media or something, but you can always message me and ask me anything if you feel like it. Or if you have any doubts about, finding work or something. I'm not an expert, but I've been at it for a few years, so maybe I could help something with some things. I don't know. And I'm gonna leave it here because it's getting a bit late over here. And I'm struggling with the color palette. I'm not really loving what I'm doing. So I think I'm gonna leave it there and give it a thought and come back to it with fresh eyes because I've been staring at it for too long. It's just the base colors, but it still feels a bit odd. I don't know if I should save. I'm gonna save this color palette maybe. Thank you for the follow. I just saw it. Okay, so I'll leave it here for now. I'll post, as always, this video on YouTube eventually. It will probably be scheduled in a few weeks because I already have other Twitch streams scheduled. But it will be on YouTube too. You can find it there because I save some of the videos on Twitch, but they eventually disappear. So that's all for today. I didn't do much. I got caught up talking and I just basically did the base colors. But maybe we can finish this up. I don't know if tomorrow. I have a commission to do, so maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And you can always find me on Instagram, on YouTube, and all the other platforms because we have to be everywhere, artists. I'm also on TikTok and Twitter. The place where I'm most active is Instagram and TikTok. So, yeah, you can find me up there. Good night, and thank you for coming by to the stream.